What's going on, everybody? It's Blaine Cruse, real estate expert advisor, realtor extraordinaire, and the most electrifying man in real estate. I want to come to you real quick, do a short video, quick and to the point about a topic I get asked all the time. Then that question I'm always asked is, how long is it going to take to close? Now let's assume that you found the house and you're under contract. So, we're not going to talk about how long it takes to find the right house because that is a whole other can of worms, and we're not going to cover that in this video. Maybe in the future we'll talk a little bit more about how long that process can take. But we're going to cover how long it takes to close on your home. And this is going to be pretty much the same whether you're a buyer or a seller. The number one question or criteria that's going to determine how long this is going to take is whether the buyer is paying with cash or they are financing through a lender. If they're financing through a lender, it can be a scenario of how long it takes to go through that lender's underwriting process. Now, yes, when the buyer submits their offer, hopefully they are submitting a proof of funds if they're paying cash, or they are submitting a pre-approval letter, which all that means is that they've been pre-approved, there's been a cursory look at their credit score, their income, and their debts, and they're probably going to get financed, but the purpose of the underwriting process is to actually get that final approval. And they're going to weigh all that criteria of the buyer, but they're also going to weigh the criteria of the sales price of the home. They're going to determine whether it is a good sales price, as in the lender wants to be sure they're not loaning out more money than they should. It's all about minimizing their risk. So that's what basically the underwriting process is going to be. And that process, man, it can vary in length. It really depends on the quality of the lender. There are lenders who are on top of it. They will communicate quickly within an hour or two if the realtor or client has a question. They're on top of any documentations needed. If the buyer is on top of sending documentation that the lender is going to need, that can help smooth the process along as well. Because throughout that process, the buyer is going to have to submit all their income documentation and all that other stuff, and probably the same documentation multiple times. So I get a question a lot from the seller saying, I thought they were already approved. Well, that doesn't necessarily, just because they have a pre-approval letter does not mean that they're going to make it to the final approval process. The lender has to do their due diligence, and that can take some time. If it's cash, you're not going to have to go through all that, and that's why cash buyers usually try to work out where they get the cash discount in their offer, which can't always happen because it's all dependent on the market. So that lender turnaround time is going to extend the amount of time it's going to take to closing. The other factor is going to be the title company. The title company is going to have a turnaround time as well, because they have, in most transactions, there's going to be what's called an owner's title insurance. And that title company, in addition to helping facilitate the transfer of the property from the buyer, or from the seller to the buyer, is going to have to also have an underwriting done for that insurance policy. And in my 13 years, I've never had a transaction that didn't involve owner's title insurance policy. I'm sure they've been done, but why anyone would want to take that risk of someone coming out of the woodwork after the purchase has been completed saying, no, I actually own that property, I don't know why anyone would risk that. But that time period, which can vary as well, because the title company has to do their title research. Hopefully there's no clouds on the title, which will be another topic we can cover. A cloud on the title means there may be some issues with who actually owns the title, or there may be a lien on the home that has to be worked out. But so assuming there has a clear chain of ownership, there's no liens or clouds on the title, that'll have an effect on it. Also will have an effect is because the title company has to work with the lender, so the lender's involvement and how good they are can also affect it on that end. And again, paying cash eliminates the lender altogether, and so it would be just beholden on the title company at that point. Now, Another factor can be, when do the parties of the transaction, the buyer and the seller, actually want to close? Maybe the seller, it's say February or March, and they want to go ahead and list their home now. It sells in February or March, but they don't want to move until May, after school lets out. Well, that can be a factor too, and it's a negotiable term or item that can be worked out between the buyer and the seller's agents when they go through that process. But now here's the nitty gritty. If you're paying cash, super quick, on average, those can be as little as 2 weeks unless the buyer and seller need a different date. But usually, most title companies can give you a 2-week turnaround for them to do their due diligence on everything. I have seen some situations with some title companies in cash deals, they have been able to turn it around in 24 hours. Totally insane. Title company does a lot on their end, assumes a lot of risk for that whole title insurance policy. But I've seen some title companies that have been able to push it through in 24 hours. Super rare, but usually in that scenario, you're looking at about 14 days. Now, if you have a lender involved, it can be 30, 45 days. On average, it's going to be 30 days, but in situations like 2008, when there was a lot of mortgage industry reform because of the collapse of the mortgage industry, when that whole bubble burst, it basically caused all these rule changes, and the title companies and lenders all had to get up to speed on what those changes were. So it pushed it to 45 days on average. So usually though, 30 days, sometimes 45 days, and ultra rare circumstances, 60 days because of the lender's issues, or maybe the borrower's communication and getting documents to the lender can cause an issue. But I have seen lenders, with that said caveat, I've seen lenders get final pre-approval in less than a week, and that is a miracle worker on those lenders. Shout out to you guys. I've been saved in that kind of situation. They've come in, swooped in, and saved the deal and get it done in 7 days. But really, on average, you're looking at 30 days. 45 days in special circumstances, depending on some of these bigger corporate lenders, or 60 days with some unforeseen circumstances. Now, it can extend beyond that 60 days if the buyer and seller have to work out another time frame, which is entirely possible. And it's a situation of where a temporary lease back from the buyer to the seller occurs. But totally different topic, not the topic of this video. I can cover temporary leasebacks in another video. But if you ever have questions about real estate, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to help. If you are in the greater Houston area, you have questions about real estate, need help buying or selling, or you even know anyone who's buying or selling, please reach out to me. I would love the opportunity to see if it's going to be a fit for me to help you. And that's really going to be it for today. And remember, with Blaine Cruse, extraordinary comes standard. Take care.